What's up, everyone? Spaz. Here in the garage, I blew up another transmission, so I thought I would make a new video because I haven't made a video in a while. So I did a 10-part video on how to remove an engine or check the transmission out, but I've never made a video on how to put a transmission back in on your own. So it's easy to get it out. It's fairly easy to get it back in. You can still do it with one person, but I recommend two, because once I bolt this thing up, what I'm going to do is, I got my girlfriend out here, I'm going to have her put one of the bolts back in and tighten that up just to be secure before I lift the transmission back up and put all the other bolts in. So what I'm going to do is, I got my transmission here, I'm going to hoist that up on my lap, and I'm going to, well, try to press it into the engine. So let's see what happens. Now, alright, you got it? Yep. Alright, and that is how you get your transmission in by yourself. For the second person to put a bolt in. Now I'm just going to start putting in all the other bolts, and we'll be good to go. So here's the transmission's back in. So the next step is I'm going to start undoing a bunch of things. Some of the things that you should always do when you're taking it apart, make your life a lot easier, is I zip tie everything out of the way, and in this case I used a small bungee cord. So here I just use the bungee cord so I could keep these out of the way as I pull the transmission, and the same here is another bungee cord. So I'm just going to start undoing some of these, just like that, and then like I said, the zip ties, I just zip tie everything out of the way, and that'll make your life a lot easier as you're putting the car, taking it apart and putting it together. So I'll keep buttoning up some of this top stuff, and then we'll keep going on our reinstall, because then I've got all my turbo set up and intercooler piping and a whole bunch of other stuff. Subframe is next, so let's just keep going. So I'm going to switch to underneath. I'm going to install the half shaft again, the intermediate, and then I'm going to put on this flywheel bolt cover. From there I'm going to prepare and kind of clean up and tighten some others, and then I'll probably start putting the turbo stuff together. So we'll start, like I said, this is the flywheel inspection plate. It's so big they actually call it a bracket instead, but on the K24, what a beast. Alright, so keep on going. So I'm putting my turbo back together. I guess I had a small oil leak that I found on the bottom of this, but putting the turbo back together is a pain in the ass, because you gotta keep rotating it to get these bolts in there, Then you got to rotate it back to reclock it, make sure it's in the right position. So I'm going through painstakingly, and you know, the turbo doesn't tend to play nice sometimes. I'm going through, trying to get all these bolts in there and keep twisting it around to get this, all the pieces out of the way, so that you can get the bolt in there, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. So just keep nudging it over and moving it, hoping I moved it far enough to get a bolt in there. Nope, not yet. Obviously be careful, use a rubber mallet. You didn't see, it's just a rubber mallet. Alright, so now I got the last bolt in there, and they're all just kind of hand tight. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the turbo, and we're going to head over to the car. Alright, we're going to take the turbo. We're going to bolt it. We're just going to bolt up one bolt. And I see it needs to be turned just a hair. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to just nudge that while on the car. Ever so slightly. There. But you want it to be straight in, and you want your oil drop, your dump, your feed in, and your out straight down. So this is pretty much perfectly aligned straight down. So now what I'm going to do is take it back off, take it back over to the table, press it down, and bolt it all the way down. Sorry, my counter is pretty destroyed. I'm also working on a RBC manifold for a customer right now too. But so yeah, so that's clocking your turbo. So I'll get this all back together and slap it back on and keep going. So then got all the wheels on, the pipe on. People ask me all the time how I get my car up. And it's with the splitters and all the other shit, the winglets on the side skirts. I can't do a normal jack, so I use a 2-jack method. And what I do is I use my standard big old 3-ton floor jack. I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it on the subframe. And yes, I have to take the bumper on and off before I can do any of this. That's why it's also a quick release bumper. And there's nothing on the bottom holding it on. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead, lift the center up. Bring down the jacks. And then I have just the low profile quick jack. And I'll pump that up until I get to the stock tow hook for the control arms in the front. And as I lower this down, I stick this on the subframe. I'm doing it slow so you can watch. Else normally I would just let it go. Alright. So now it's going to hit the little jack. The car will go sideways. Bring this down so I can get it out. And then release the little guy. And then from there, I can install my bumper now. But before I do that, I need to test fire it. Make sure that everything works right and is good. I filled up the transmission fluid and the oil and everything, so I guess I'm going to turn it over and see what happens, huh? smells like we're in business. Woo. Wait to see if I see any exhaust leaks, any kind of leaks or anything crazy. Definitely sounds like an exhaust leak. For sure, I'm gonna bump it, I'm gonna put it back up in the air, tight it down through the clamp. So, alright, well that's minor. Now we'll take it for a drive.